Hey you guys, it's been a long time. I was hoping to post on here a little more regularly than I have been, but life's happened. Um, Went through having not feeling good and having 3 surgeries, then to me not feeling good. My dad's been really sick. Just a bunch of stuff. Life happens, and so does depression. And I want to talk about what depression looks like to different people, but I also want to talk about what journaling looks like. And I just started this journal a couple of days ago, and I kind of made myself a promise that when I was working on this journal, sometimes I see how other people draw things and do them, and I want to copy that, which that's not a bad thing necessarily, but and I would just journal for the pretties. I would just journal to um just to be creative, but journaling is also very therapeutic for me, and they're very therapeutic in helping me to feel grounded and to process what I'm thinking. Um because there's the kind of depression for me that's just like I'm having a crappy couple of days and I'm just in a little bit of a funk. Then there's the kind of depression for me where it's like almost like a dissociative kind of like my body's on survival and I'm just like I'm not into anything. I'm just like not there. I guess you could say. I don't know. So hard to explain. But and during that time, it's the time that I don't really leave the bedroom. um, I'm in bed a lot. Um, I'm just in a funk and I don't want to do anything, and I can't just make myself. I can't just get over it. It's not mind over matter kind of situation. And people that don't really deal with like people don't really deal with depression don't know what it means. And when we say depressed, I'm depressed doesn't mean I'm having a bad day today or I'm in a bad mood today. It's a for real thing. It's a real thing. Depression is a real thing. Please don't ever tell nobody that they have depression that they need to just get over it, because it's not like that. That being said, I had to find a way to cope with all the stuff, all the fears, all the anxieties, all the stuff. Like I was just got tired of it, just sick and tired of it, and I needed to find a way to just cope with it. And I was looking at some of my old journals from back in the day, and my style was so different back then because it wasn't all vintage and it was very colorful, bright. A lot of it like just didn't make sense. It wasn't like perfect drawings that I was always proud of. It was often random and something that you would look at and be like, "What in the heck is this?" But I totally got because that was my head, my heart, my feelings on that piece of paper. Sorry, guys, I'm just getting over a sinus thing. Um, so I wanted to talk about authentic journaling and how it can really help to ground you. And what I mean by to ground you, sometimes, like, especially if you deal with anxiety or depression, you can get that feeling of that wandering feeling where you don't feel grounded. You don't feel like you feel like you're just floating. I wish I had a better word to describe it, but you just don't feel grounded. And doing something like this for me brings me back to that place of who I am before all the influences by Instagram, before my art got influenced by other people's work that I thought was just so wonderful. I just wanted to copy the work, and then when you do that, you don't find your authentic self. You don't know your authentic art style because you're so busy trying to copy other people's. And I'm super guilty of that. But I'm happiest when I'm just doing whatever, whether it looks pretty or not, but it makes sense to me. That's when I begin to flow. That's when it's authentic, and I don't really have to think about it, and it stops being something that I have to do to fill the pages, and it starts being something that is an aid for me. It starts being something that is a help to me instead of another thing I have to stress over. And so these journal pages are not beautiful. They're not the prettiest things you ever saw. They're not filled with some of my greatest artwork. I mean, the cover alone is just kind of wacky, but I don't know. This is a very free form type of journal. It's very loose, just I don't set up standards to where I'm like, oh, this girl has to be pretty. If it's not, I'm going to scratch it out. There's no scratched out pages. There's some personal stuff in here, but I think it's written small enough you can't read it. Please don't try to pause it and read my stuff. I appreciate that. And let's get going on to my little journal therapy. So this is just an Exceed notebook. And the cover is just a mishmash of a bunch of stuff. Eventually I'm going to color this panda in. I put the start date and then I'll put the end date. And then these pages here. So right here I just have some ideas of things that I like to add in here. And then, okay, we'll go right here. This is a page when my dad went to the hospital the other day. And I was really thinking about, do I trust God? Do I trust God enough to say, God, have your way with my dad? Instead of begging him to do what I want him to do, saying, Lord, all I can do is trust you because you know what's best. And so I kind of drew this road. And this road is fear, and it leads to this pit. It's not beautiful. This is not a beautiful sketch, but as soon as I look at it, I know what it means. And then I drew this road that leads to trust, and just laying down my inhibitions and my fears, and and really, we think when we have fear, really what it is control, trying to control the outcome. But when we lay that control down and give it to Jesus, that's when we actually have some sort of control, because we decided to give it to him, and we have a sense of freedom, the real freedom, not the fake freedom we get from thinking we have control over something. And then I drew this little girl here in her little Superwoman cape, and it says, I will not be afraid. And I want to add my scripture by there. Okay, this has been my state for the past week. Just really, like, not to be gross, but it's not factory. Basically is how I felt. And if you know me, you will get this. Boogers to Betsy. There's this commercial, this Mucinex commercial, where this thing is in the shower, and she turns on the cold water or something, and he says, Boogers to Betsy. And so that's what I say when I get glue on myself or I stub my toe. That's like my go-to phrase, Boogers to Betsy. And I just felt like it just fit here. So I didn't spend forever on these sketches. I really just very loosely sketched these things out. I put, this is the current state of my lungs. This is how I feel. And it says, when I finally come out of a month-long funk and you're sick, ugh, Boogers to Betsy. And it said, current mood, sick and sassy. So that's me wrapped up in a blanket with some hot tea and some tissues, lots of tissues. And then, dude, where's my tissues? Because that's all I was doing. Okay. So these two, I actually did this one first. And this is about depression. This is about coming out of my cave. And it says, not quite ready to leave my my cave and face the world. Like, I'm standing right by the door, but I'm not ready. And then this is talking about breaking out, but this is talking about breaking out of a sense of mind. breaking out of a way of doing things that isn't genuine. Like, no more journaling for the sake of perfect pages, but rather journal for my well-being. And I find that when I just slap stuff down, and when it's intuitive, and when I'm journaling for me, and I'm just journaling to get stuff out of my head, and to process things and to break things down, that's when I find that I like it the most, because it's it's authentic. This is what I saw in my head, so that's what I drew, kind of thing. And then this is a cave, and there's a hole. These are here for a purpose. There's a hole, like sometimes when you're in the darkest moments is when the crystals, and you're alone with God, like that's when these crystals are being formed. And anyways, this this page, I was feeling very sassy. This was yesterday. I was feeling very sassy yesterday, and was just thinking about how people expected me to cope with stuff, like how people expected me to cope with my dad being sick, or how people expected me to just cope with some family issues and stuff like that, and how I felt like people were expecting me to cope with it, even depression, even the depression and the funk and all the stuff that I've been in, and being off of Instagram, and feeling so flaky, and feeling so, I don't know. And I just wrote, I won't read what's underneath of the thing. Like, there's nothing horribly sinful under there, but just how I really feel. And I just put, I will cope how I see fit, as long as it's not hurting other people, not hurting myself, and it's in line with God. Like, I'll cope. I'll take as much time as I need to. I will take that time. I will cope the way I see fit. I will come out of my cave when I am dang well ready. So that was that day. Oh, Lord have mercy. But, so this was later that day. I just felt like journaling. Like, I just have been journaling a lot. And it says, they say faith is a bird singing before there's even daylight. And I was still being kind of sassy and honest that day. And I said, let's see. Currently, that bird annoys me, but I'm working on it. So, I don't know. This is not my usual kind of mood, but I don't know. I was just having a day. This page is a work in progress. This is today's page. It's a lot better. My mood is a lot better. And this page is talking about this little girl, and she has a balloon, and it says control, and she's letting go of that balloon, and she's walking down this pathway of obedience that's going to lead to spiritual maturity, where instead of trying to take control, I say, I trust you, Lord. And so the key theme in these pages have been just relinquishing control, really giving God control over my emotions and my feelings, and saying, sometimes we think if we're Christians, oh, I can't have these feelings, I can't have these thoughts, I shouldn't admit that I feel this way. But that's a lie, just because we're Christians doesn't mean we don't have bad days, or we don't have bad feelings or emotions, or we don't want to cry or scream, or just, Lord have mercy, we have those days. And when we get to a point where we will just refuse to admit it and deal with it, that's what makes us worse people. That's what makes us liars, because we're lying to ourselves, and we're not dealing with the problem, but we're putting a band-aid on it and say, oh, I'm a Christian, I can't act that way, I can't feel that way. When the truth is, this is how I feel, this is how I'm feeling, this is how I'm processing, this is how I'm dealing with stuff. And this journal has just been me being very honest with myself and with God and with my journal, and just saying, this is how I feel, this is how I'm coping, this is how I'm dealing with stuff. And also at the same time being grateful that God has brought us through so much. But you'll see a lot of the stuff, like, my old style is come back in this journal. The colors with the darker border, like, that was something I always used to do. So I feel like this journal is kind of bringing me out of my cocoon and just, I don't know, it's just bringing back my old art style is making a reappearance, and it's helping a lot because I looked forward to journaling today. I'm not done with my page, but I looked forward to it. I did like 2 pages yesterday because it was it was a release. It was like medicine, and it just felt good. I felt creative. I wanted to be creative, and I enjoyed it, and I didn't feel like I had any standards that I had to live up to. I didn't feel like my pages have to be Instagram worthy. I didn't feel like I have to be uber creative and come up with all these crazy ideas, but I'm just really just being me and putting that on paper and writing down and helping myself to overcome things and process stuff and work on myself while being creative. And this has done so much, also with lots of prayer, with being in the Word, lots of talking to God about stuff, talking to God in my journal. And yes, I love this so much. I've been enjoying the process so much that I ordered myself a cover. An A5, I believe. Yeah, that's what this is. An A5. I ordered myself an A5 cover. Because this has really been helping so much. I mean, I've got my art stuff out. I have not done nothing in weeks. Nothing. No kind of art. No painting. Like, no decorating in my Bible. Like, none of that. And the fact that I've now brought this crate from my craft room and I have my journal supplies in there. I'm still sitting in here. Well, partly because I'm still sick. But I'm wanting to be creative, and I'm not going to force myself to do anything that I don't want to. Like, creatively, I'm not going to force myself to draw specific things. I'm not going to, force myself to be creative in areas that I'm not feeling pulled to right now. But this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm feeling right now, and it's really helping. So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about journaling and how it can be therapeutic. But in order for journaling to be therapeutic, it has to be genuine. It has to come from a genuine place, a genuine motive. It has to be not trying to prove to others how pretty your pages can be, not trying to make your pages Instagram worthy, not putting all your time into the art but not doing the work, not writing what you're feeling or drawing what you're feeling or expressing what's going on in your head in a way that's going to help you process. You can, if you want to have an art journal, just have an art journal. If you want to have a scripture journal, just have a scripture journal. If you want it to be pretty, have one that's just for making pretty. But I highly, highly, highly recommend having a journal where it necessarily isn't pretty. But like, the goal isn't for it to be pretty, but the goal is for you to do the work. The goal is for you to write, ask yourself questions, process, what's the word I'm thinking of? Assess how you're feeling, assess how you're doing mentally. And I want to do, one of the pages I want to make it here is a gratitude page. I also want to make a scripture page of some scriptures that I'm reading that really that are really helping, so that when I flip back through here, it's just making me happy, and I'm seeing it. And I'm feeling progress. So that's it. That's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to share. I will be back with I want to do a Roman study. I know I didn't finish what was it on Corinthians and Colossians. I know I didn't finish that. I'll go back to that, but a lot of stuff happened at that time. A lot of stuff, Rocky had like 3 surgeries in the same month that I started that study, and things were crazy. But once I feel all the way better, I want to do a study on Romans. That's the book I'm getting ready to read next. And I think that's it, guys. I will talk to you soon. God bless you guys.